Maria Bogdanova-Peifer, Oley Township, Berks County. Commissioners Lineback, Commissioner Rivera, by now you probably know why I'm standing here. Myself and my partner are running for those 2 seats. And it's not because something you did not do. It's not because something you necessarily did. It's something you didn't do. Because people in the community, like myself, like those agricultural folks that petitioned for you, that work the polls to keep you in the seats, to put you in those seats, you turn your backs on them. There's one fundamental right, is the right to vote. I took my oath to become a citizen right here in Berks County. When I pledge allegiance to the flag, I mean every word of it. When I put my hand on the Bible, I mean it. So when people come and they try to get your attention that something is wrong with the electoral system, it's their right, fundamental, very basic, but essential to the function of this country. And that's when you turn your back on them. I was a poll watcher. I know what I saw. I know that last Saturday you did not go to the you were in Washington, D.C., so you were not at the GOP nomination committee meeting. So congratulations to those, sheriff and everybody else who were backed by the people and endorsed. Unfortunately for both of you, people spoke. You did not get their endorsement, and that is for a reason.
There are no comments online, and I will respond. Truth does matter. It matters. And no one ignored the issues that were raised by the voters, by the poll workers. We've addressed them publicly. We've addressed them in this meeting. We've addressed them as part of the election board. In fact, ES&S provided a written statement responding to the issue on the screen. We showed the video here that Barry Joswiak provided of a voter attempting to vote. There are people that are sitting right here that saw us show that video. And in that meeting, call on ES&S to explain exactly what took place. ES&S did explain exactly what took place, that it is a design flaw that draws the person right to the edge of the selection between the Democrat and the Republican, the Democrats at the top. The solution is a software change, a change to the design of the screen, and that is going to be done. We don't ignore things that are brought to our attention. I might also add, it is important to note that as of Monday, the 2 commissioners sitting before you no longer sit as the election board. If you have issues between now and the beginning of January of next year, when whoever is elected as the 3 commissioners will once again be seated as the election board, that's going to have to be taken up with the new election board. The new election board definitely will include 2 judges. It may include all 3. That depends on whether or not Lucine Sahelnik chooses to be part of that election board. Right now, she has announced that she is not running for election as a commissioner, and under the law, she can be a member of that election board. So any issues that you have now with the election board, you can take up with the election board. We are not part of that. Not only are we not part of it, we also are barred from going beyond the front desk of the election department as any other candidate would be. We do not have any unique or special access until we or our successors are sworn in next January. So truth matters, and I normally don't jump in and address things, but when people speak something other than the truth, I will stand up and clarify the record. So thank you.
I also think it's important to note, just like you did, Commissioner Leinbach, situations are addressed. A lot of times it's when people don't get the response that they want, they feel that it's not addressed. There are things that we can control, other things that have to go to the legislature, which have not gone to the legislature. So I just want to let that know. Also, one other item, these forms here are for county-related issues. Any political-related issues, I don't think this is the appropriate place or time to bring them up. So thank you.
Maria Bogdanova-Peifer, all EPA. Commissioner, welcome on board. I certainly hope that you're going to do the job that has not been done up to this point. I want to move on the second very important definition of what defines United States from any other country in this world, besides that people can vote for their rights and elect their government. There's a second very important aspect, is the property ownership. When I looked at the agenda, it really bothered me to see a farmland was in ownership of County of Berks, which is a government agency, not a private ownership. There's two ways communists take possession of the private ownership. One is by force. Second is by increasing taxes, liens, and everything else that people cannot afford to stay in their homes or keep their land. Looking at this, I'm really bothered and concerned because, as many of you know, I came from former USSR. I know what it's like to live under control of the government. Government provides, government takes. They literally assign who is going to be your roommate and where you're going to stay. Having said that, knowing that you had a consideration of doing countywide tax reassessment base, which will put people out of their homes, force them off their land, is very troublesome to me. So one thing is to protect is the private ownership of every citizen, and especially people that are in Berks County. A lot of that are farmland. Thank you.
Next speaker is Chuck Ortwine, Douglas Township.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name's Chuck Ortwine. I'm from technically Boyertown, but I'm as far west in, I guess, Berks County as you can get. My interest today is the American Rescue Plan Act. I've been watching since March 21, and Berks County has been given supposedly $81 million of this money. It was for COVID relief and things like this. Well, where's the relief? Where are the jobs? Where are the businesses that you've rescued? Where have the people that have lost their homes and things like that? How have you helped them? I've looked at your recent dashboard. You've given $1 million to 2 universities who have endowments that make $500,000 a year just in their endowments. Why should they get the money? You've given it to the Philadelphia Phillies Club here. They're a private company. Well, it says here you've given the Phillies money, or Reading Phillies, so maybe I'm incorrect, but it's not where it was supposed to go. Restaurants have failed, people have lost cars, things like this. And you have a list of township projects that everybody's asked for. These are nice projects, but a township is supposed to do a project based on their current revenue and how they pay for it. You're spending money that was given to us supposedly, and you're spending it supposedly judiciously, but I don't think it's appropriate. I think it really should go either to businesses that have failed or restaurants and things like this, or to be honest, why don't you just give it back to the government and pay down the debt? This is money that we technically do not have. It is funny money. And here you are spending money that's going to indebt our future generations. So please consider what you're doing. The list doesn't look good as far as I'm concerned. And I think you should reprioritize what you're doing, how you're doing it, and give the money either back to the government and pay down the debt, or get it to the companies, the people who've lost things really through COVID, not just people who have a pet project they'd like to do. Thank you.
I'll recognize our solicitor.
So I wanted to respond to Ms. Pfeiffer's comments regarding the lease agreement that's on the agenda today. Just so you're aware, and I'm sure you're not aware of this fact, this lease is for a portion of county welfare tract that was deeded to the county of Berks many, many years ago to build a jail on. It is not 226.36 acres in one continuous parcel. It's relatively small tracts of land throughout the North Campus that's around our county buildings. So the reason why this is not something the county took from a private landowner, this was a landowner in Berks County through their estate deeded the land to the county for government purposes. We have chosen to take the parcels of land that cannot be used for government purposes and give the farming community through a procurement process the opportunity to farm it appropriately. So I just want to clarify, this is not government taking persons' lands. This is government using the land for which the purpose for which it was given to us, and then us giving it back to the farming community through a lease program that's publicly procured so that they can utilize the land appropriately for farming on areas that we cannot utilize for government purposes. So it's relatively small tracts of land, maybe, a quarter of an acre around the Berks Heim, another sections around the jail, some sections around the recycling center. So it's a very, very hodgepodge together strips of land that generate that total acreage, but it's not county government taking private landowners' land for government purposes. Thank you.
So just a recommendation, it's much better in life in general to research versus making accusations. Do your homework, find out what is really going on before accusing the county of taking private farmland. Anyone that knows me knows that my first year in office, I became engaged in a battle against eminent domain when the county was considering through the Parks and Rec Department to take the Hay Creek Trail by eminent domain in southern Berks County. I opposed that because I believe eminent domain, A, is constitutional. How do I know it's constitutional? Because the Fifth Amendment says private property shall not be taken without just compensation. The U.S. Constitution in the Bill of Rights recognized there would be times where it was appropriate for the government to take private land, but it was only when it had a clear public purpose: roads, bridges, utilities. I will tell you that has been, in my opinion, through the courts, shortly after 2000, has been expanded dramatically, but I believe way beyond what was originally there. So to make an accusation that somehow we've taken private land from farmers it demonstrates someone doesn't know the history of what we've done here in the county. You may be seated. This is not back and forth. Please be seated. Please be seated. Please be seated. We have public comment. We let everybody make their public comment I'm just simply making it clear, the county did not take this land from the farming community or farmers. It was donated, I believe, in the 50s, 1930s. Right. It's a very large tract. The youth recreation fields are there. The ag center's there. The Berksheim is there. The jail, Easy Does It, the county recycling center. And as noted, these are parcels outside that area. And again, we'd be glad to answer those questions. People have questions, ask us. We will get you the specifics. We can get you the details back to when it was donated to the county. But please take the time to look in to those issues.
Commissioner Linebacker.
Excuse me.
Okay, we're going to stop. Okay, you've already had public comment, please.
You've had public comment.
There is another comment
Okay.
that came in, if you want to read that other
I
comment.
don't. This is John from Ole Township. The federal constitution has protections against foreign agents running for the presidency. Are there similar protections in the local level government? I have no idea. I'm not exactly sure what he's referencing, but that is the comment.
You have to be a registered voter of
Yeah,
Berks County.
Well, you have to be a registered voter and you have to be a resident. We kind of went through that recently when Soc Georgiadis became the acting treasurer. The deputy could not be the treasurer because, and Linda does a great job. I explained this a week or two ago, but she lives outside of the county of Berks and therefore under the county code cannot step up and be the acting director for the treasurer's office. So anybody can serve in county government if they're of age, they're a Berks County resident and a registered voter. So that's all that I have. Any other comments?
I do. I have a comment. I just want to clarify this misinformation about reassessment. First of all, I just want to clarify that there has been no conversation about reassessment. And I just can't seem to understand why people say that the county wants to do a reassessment to increase property taxes to take people's homes away. If we look at the last reassessment in Berks County, it was in 1994. Okay. If I would ask by a show of hands here, how many people here have had their taxes increased between 1994 and now? I think all of you would raise your hand.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we reassessed between 1994 and now? Zero. What I'm trying to say is we don't need to reassess to increase taxes. The purpose of a reassessment is not to increase taxes. It's to level out who pays what. Normally in a reassessment, 1/3 of the people will pay more, 1/3 will stay the same, and 1/3 will pay less. Also, by law, you cannot use property tax reassessment to increase the tax base. That's not the purpose of the reassessment. It's to equal out. So why would we pay $4 to $5 million and take a 1 to 2 year process to increase property taxes when all we have to do is increase the millage on the property? That's all we have to do to increase property taxes, which we have held off from doing in the last few years. That's what the school districts do. That's what the municipalities do. There is no reason or need for reassessment to increase property taxes. So again, it goes to understanding what the process is and why things are done. Because I just don't understand where this information is coming from, where we want to do a reassessment to increase property taxes. That would be the last reason to be able to do it, when you can just do it with a vote and a stroke of a pen to increase property taxes. Again, school districts, municipalities do it practically every year, and there is no reassessment done. So just wanted to clarify that, get that out there as to why the county would not do a reassessment to increase property taxes.
Yeah.
So that's.
And anyone can check the records, talk to people in the assessment office. talk to people on the Assessment Appeals Board, ask the question, have there been any discussions in the last 10 years about the county considering reassessment? And the answer is no. There's been no meetings. There's been one newspaper article, I think in 2021. I believe it was initiated by a question to the Reading Eagle. What has to happen to bring about reassessment? They interviewed the commissioners. They interviewed the realtors. When I was interviewed, I said, if the realtors want to discuss this issue, have them come to an operations meeting. Operations are a Tuesday public meeting, and they never did. So there's never been a discussion. But again, this rumor continues to persist that there's plans for a reassessment. There are no plans for a reassessment in Berks County. I'm making that as clear as we possibly can today, as we have many other times. But that's the reality of where we are.
Good morning, everybody. Commissioner Leinbach, happy birthday. My name is Maria Bogdanova-Peifer. I'm a resident of Oley Valley. For John Zavoli, I'm not a foreign agent. I'm actually a legal U.S. immigrant, like many here, and probably ancestors of the same person that made a comment last week. I am also a U.S. citizen. So I'm going to be addressing some of the issues that arose from last week's meeting. One of them, I really did not feel like the concerns that I addressed and the response that I've got were very respectful. So in that, there are a few issues that pertain to transparency. One would be agenda and the website. You asked for feedback. In our school district, when agenda is posted, the pertinent documents also uploaded, and anybody can look at them in advance, have any questions, address the questions before the meeting, so they would be properly answered. Last time, I remember when I asked the question, it took about a month to get the response through the email. So when agenda is posted 24 hours in advance, it really limits constituents like myself to raise the questions offline and not to come here to the meetings, start raising them. And the second one, on the agenda specifically, the question that I asked was in regard to an item, it was 862023. So the track was identified, and I'm going to read from the agenda. Farmland Berks County Welfare Track. There was no parcel IDs, there was no instrument numbers under which one could possibly conduct any research. So it would be very helpful to have this information provided. I'm gonna provide my email. I'm looking forward to receiving this information so I could further look at it. Going to move to the next one. When I brought a concern about the tax-based reassessment and how it affects the residents, I pulled out some articles and actually statistical research conducted in 2022. Some of the articles were from Quicken Loans. It's a website. There's a lot of useful information. And the other one was just looking at statistics. The taxes, just the cost of livings that we acquired in the last year, even a year, it's a real concern for the residents. Anything that raises the taxes indeed puts people out of their homes, and they turn from homeowners to
Finish up
tenants.
your thoughts, please.
Yes. So those are just real concerns that were addressed. And since the tax reassessments going in the counties around us, they were on the table. I'm glad that you answered them, but please
Okay.
don't.
Thank you. There are no other comments online. That closes our public comment period. Anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn?
The meeting stands adjourned.
Maria Bogdanova-Peifer, Oley Township, Berks County. A month ago, I spoke about election integrity, and one of the issues that was brought to me was also non-citizen voting. I remember that you made a comment after that saying the truth matters. Well, facts and numbers do not lie. I had obtained reports that were produced for you too by BCRC. So in 2020, there was indication that a non-citizen voted in November 3rd election. In the report of 2020 was indicated that non-citizen voted. What had been done to prevent, first of all, to investigate that, and also to prevent that non-citizens will not be voting in our elections. Following up in October of 2020, BCRC request was responded with a statement that election services has no procedures as it simply implements PA Act 77. So follow-up questions from BCRC were answered, and there was further concerns were raised that apparently a suggestion was the Office of Election Services acknowledged that where a registration is qualified to be purged, the act of canceling is undertaken every 2 years. This is in non-compliant with the Pennsylvania Voter Registration Act, which requires at least once per year the cancellation of qualified registrations. So there were several issues were raised. There were several pathways of addressing those issues were stated in those reports. The reports were for years 2021, 22. I understand that you finally met with the team in 2023. By law, at that point, since you are running for re-election, you're not a part of election services, and hence you can't do anything about it. In addition to, since March 15, 2019, you had spent over $4.5 million of taxpayers' money to purchase the equipment, to test the equipment, voting machine, poll books. You acknowledged there were problems with that. So what was your alternative plan to identify those problems as they've been reported to you in following up elections? So here we're talking about 2 elections per year, 3 years in a row. So what has been done? Michael Rivera, I believe your statement was that we were unhappy that we didn't get our answers. If we are unhappy that illegal people or people that shouldn't be voting in our elections, that, yeah, you're correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. There are no comments online, so that closes our public comment period. Any general comments from the board?
Motion to adjourn?
The meeting stands adjourned.